lot to get to today, everybody, so let's dive right in because there is big news coming out of Newfoundland and Labrador because if you're buying pop there, you can soon expect to pay 20 cents more per liter starting next year. So this is going to be the first tax targeting sugary drinks, at least some of them in this country. So who wants to dive in first? Do we like this idea or is it maybe too narrow and it needs to be implemented more widely?
Well, Tracy on Facebook doesn't love this idea. She said, how about instead of taxing junk food, we lower the prices of healthy food? Food prices in Canada right now are outrageous. And Tracy, I hear you. And I think that you raise a really interesting point because the fact is that how are we going to incentivize people to actually make the healthier choice? I don't necessarily think this is the way. In England or Britain, actually, right now, what they've done is they've tax the manufacturers of products like this, which is an interesting place to start. But I'm not sure if that's the only answer, right? Like, I wonder if some of these fast food chains or like gas stations that often pair crappy food together and make them like a delightful deal, if there should be some kind of a tax there. And ultimately, like even this setup isn't addressing things like chocolate milk. That's not on the list. Any diet colas, drinks that are using artificial sweeteners, they're not on this list. So, like, how are we actually educating people to make healthier choices in general? Like, does this do that? It doesn't.
Yeah, it's a good point. Listen, I cannot talk to you about all the things that I've been reading and watching about how dangerous sugar is for health.
Yeah.
I think what the challenge is that in little bits, it's not bad for you. Have a little bit here, have a little bit there. The question is, how do you regulate common sense? That maybe having a treat here and there is very different than all the hidden sugars and added hidden sugars that manufacturers are stuffing into things. Anything that ends in OSE, glucose, maltose, fructose, glucose, if it ends in OSC, leave it be. That's the saying in my house. Because it's hidden, you don't know it's there, and you think, oh, this bread, this soup is so healthy. Well, it's probably filled with added sugar because it's everywhere. So the question is, how do you find the balance between letting people have a little treat, because don't take away my ketchup, but maybe I shouldn't be drinking 75 pops in a week. That's a really fine dance.
And is it a fixable thing with just implementing, like charging people more for it or taxing for it? Like, I'm not sure that the research bears that this kind of thing works.
Well, and I think that charging a small amount like this, like we've seen this for plastic bags, right? That you pay 10 cents when you forget your bags, you get a plastic bag. It doesn't really deter anybody from getting the bag because once you spend all the money on your groceries, spending another dime doesn't really do much. But what I'm interested to know is, what are they going to do with this money? Because if this is just a way to collect some tax in order to then start a campaign or a program to educate people on the dangers of sugar, where sugar is hidden, how to eat healthy, and in addition, not just educating people, because then like on social media they were mentioning, creating better access, easier access to healthy foods, healthy drinks. Like I'm thinking about what you're talking about, Cynthia, where when you go into a fast food place, you go to where you get your drinks and it's just a bunch of fountains. And if you want water, what do you have to do? Go and find that tiny little tab that's hidden in the back behind the Coke or the root beer or whatever it is, and then put your pinky on it and hopefully none of the other juice from everything else gets in it. Like it's actually very difficult to just get easy, some water or some soda water or whatever it is. So how can that tax then be used to help people find the alternative? Because it's not about just giving something up. It's about replacing that with something else that's better for you.
But I also think it's about, coming out of this and looking at a big picture lifestyle, society, food as a society issue. And the first thing I thought about when this came up was what my dad used to do. My dad raised me when I was between the ages of 6 and 16 as a single dad in Toronto. And so that involved driving me to many places, like lessons and classes and whatnot. And there were some days where Dad only had the time working 2 jobs, including all weekend, to go to the drive-thru with me. And those were my dinners. And if anybody is about to judge my father for what he did, driving me through the drive-thru 3 times a week, feeding me burgers and fries and whatnot, and those juices, then I'm gonna have something to say to them. And I think parents these days have no time to put together the healthy lunch and the healthy dinner because they're working so hard, they're driving around, they're doing so many other things that they're gonna have to buy the juice box. They have to buy the packaged cheese and the packaged snacks. They sometimes have to buy the packaged dinners. So this isn't just about the kinds of foods people are buying. This is about us looking at life, how society is set up, how our communities are set up, how parents are supported in other areas beyond the grocery store before this really is going to take hold, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, but that's it, because I think what's the antidote to this? It is cooking more real foods, hopefully as a family.
Who has the time to do that?
This is what I'm saying is, like, to your point, the idea of all the other pressures that are put on families now, it is not a surprise that there are a lot of fast food chains in neighborhoods where maybe it would be much more beneficial to have more produce stands. But the other side of the question is time, that time in and of itself, who's paying for the time? So I think with this 20 cents, I would love for it to go into education. If Newfoundland and Labrador is watching, where's the 20 cents going? So is this going into education programs? Is this going into better childcare? Is this going into
the communities?
Is it going into the communities that really need this additional help, right? Because let's face it, access to healthy food is in and of itself a privilege.